If you want to support Slope's Game Room, then please click the links that you see in the top comments. Every system needs a mascot. You know the drill. Sega has Sonic, Nintendo has Mario, NEC has... Look, you just get the drill. The same drill that's been literally drilled into your head for the longest time on channels like mine. Well, that's not really the case nowadays, is it? I suppose you could say that Nathan Drake is the PlayStation 4's mascot. But honestly, nothing against those games, they are literally perfect games in my eyes. But as good as they are, I wouldn't go as far as saying he's a mascot for the system. Yep, the whole every system needs a mascot thing died out a little while ago, when gaming started becoming 3D powerhouses. Well, let's take mascots out of the equation. Nowadays, I would argue that companies, and I suppose systems, have always needed a good puzzler too. When you think of Tetris, you think of the Game Boy or Nintendo as a whole. Columns or Puyo Puyo is Sega's baby. Oh, and by the way, this is probably one of the greatest puzzlers ever made. And this continues with games like Zuma and Peggle on the 360, and heck, for the longest time, when people talked about the biggest gaming market ever, you know, your mobile phones, you would have thought of things like Candy Crush. It was until Sega Heroes came out. Oh my god, you need to get this game. It's addictive as fuck. Right, sorry guys. Let's just get down to it, shall we? The PlayStation 1. At the time of release, everybody was about Bust-A-Move, but we're going to save that for another extremely big Complete History episode in the future. Because even though the incredibly popular system got a crazy amounts of shovelware, some of which were actually brilliantly addictive puzzlers and 100% deserving of the branding of a hidden gem, there was one crazily obscure puzzle game that has become a bit of a cult classic. And that is, of course, IQ, aka the Intelligent Qube, or KURUSHI as it was known in my neck of the woods. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Dan, you're running out of game franchises, mate. But seriously guys, this game left a really big lasting impression on me. I may have only played the demo like most people would, I guess, but just like everybody else, KURUSHI as it was known in the UK has always stuck with me. So much so that I decided to say, join me as we look at the Intelligent Qube's history, its development, its often unheard of sequels, and of course, its games. Welcome to Slope's Game Room. If there is one good thing that came from the PlayStation Classic, it's this game. Yeah, we could have all easily doubled what we wanted to actually see on the system, and as expected, it only took about 1 minute for people to actually do this. But one game that did make the list that I don't think anybody was fully expecting, considering all the stuff that they'd left out, was of course Intelligent Qube. A puzzle game that's somewhat a little bit spooky, a puzzle game that's very simplistic, and a puzzle game that honestly, yes, I'm gonna say it gave me nightmares. Seriously, I'm not scared of the game at all, and until recently I didn't even own the full thing, but the idea of having to work super fast or be crushed to death, or even worse, fall to your death, damn son. Well, maybe that's why it left a lasting impression on me and plenty of other PlayStation owners back in the 90s. I genuinely did have a nightmare from this game, guys, I'm not just making that up. But hold on a minute, let's not review the game just yet because I think we're in fact getting a little ahead of ourselves. So, let's go back to the beginning. Masahiko Sato is a very interesting individual, and actually wasn't necessarily somebody that decided to get into game design. Nope, Sato-san actually started live creating Japanese commercials like the one that you're seeing here. Now I'm sure as a Westerner that doesn't really know what's going on, like myself, it may just seem like a pretty standard advert for some crisps. But by all accounts it's adverts like this that are not just your standard fare of quick marketing and get out of there. But instead, Sato-san's adverts were known by many as the sort of adverts that stay with you, the sort of adverts that become legendary, and the sort of adverts that can be played many years into the future selling the exact same product. Sato-san gets pretty deep with this concept after reading several translated interviews with the mysterious Japanese marketing legend. It's apparent that he was as much into psychology as he was about advertising, constantly trying to work out what makes humans happy as a whole rather than what's easy to sell, which is why almost everything he touched became something that was, as he puts it, eternal and lasting. Those numbers don't lie. Heck, the guy even went as far as becoming a professor at Keio University in Japan on the subject of creating a method of creation. So yeah, I think there's no denying that this fella is bloody intelligent, helping write books such as So That's What the Economy Is, and of course designing the game Intelligent Qube.
Onomatopoeia. O-N-O-M-A-T-O-P-O-E-I-A.
Think you're really smart? Then try Intelligent Qube, the painfully tough new brain twister. Get ready to think. Or die.
PlayStation.
So, Intelligent Qube. I bloody love it when this happens. How did this brainiac actually come up with the idea of a game like this? Well, the answer is in fact a lot more simple than you may expect. One day out of the blue, the image of a game just like this suddenly popped into my head. To be precise, it was April the 9th on a Sunday afternoon between 2 and 3 PM. Oh, come on, mate. How about being a little bit more precise there, pal? I'm making a bloody history video here. Seriously, guys. There isn't many creators that can work out almost the exact hour where they imagined up their creation. But this is no normal dude. And hey, UK gamers, you finally know what that date means on the front of the KURUSHI box. According to that same interview, everything except the music was almost exactly how he had imagined it. Sure, originally he'd imagined about 7 people on the playing field at the same time, as well as dogs, extra blocks that ended up being 2 stories high, some being flat and some being oblong shaped. But when he started to actually put pen to paper, he realised that a wide variety of shapes would actually confuse our inferior brains a little bit too much. And with the more simplistic gameplay style, the game was officially conceived back on April the 9th between 2 and 3 PM, and for those wondering, I am pretty sure that the year was 1995. But I am afraid to say that the hour, minute and second cannot be verified due to how vague this chap is being. Right, before we go ahead and talk more about the game's development, just in case anybody out there has absolutely no idea what this game is about, let's quickly review this bad boy.
First stage.
KURUSHI, or Intelligent Qube as it was better known in the world, looks simple, and I suppose it is. There really isn't a lot going on here. You control this frantically running nameless dude, and your job is to make your way past the cubes. You do this by selecting a floor tile, waiting for the cube to roll on top of it and then making it disappear. Now the trick is to actually remove the green cubes, as that triggers another floor tile colour, which then can be used to remove all of the cubes around that space, which if timed correctly is exactly what you need to do to get through to the next set of cubes. Although it isn't just about getting through the stages, because you really want to get rid of all of the normal cubes, those are the white ones, and the advantage cubes, those are the green ones, all whilst avoiding the forbidden cubes. You guessed it, those are the black ones. If you do this perfectly, you get a from the game's narrator and get an extra line of floor cubes for you to be able to maneuver. Fail to do this and you lose a line, obviously making the rest of the stage a lot harder. It was expected that the game would only take 3 months to complete, however during its development refining the gameplay took a whole lot longer. Every puzzle found in the game actually came from Masako Sato himself, as well as Norio Nakamura, the game's designer. According to that same interview, Sato-san wasn't actually that good at the game. I mean, yes, he could solve the puzzles, but he wasn't really a gamer and he wasn't that fast at controlling the little dude. In fact, most of the time he would make the puzzles and test them on Nakamura-san. Originally, the puzzles were jotted down in a notepad that Sato-san would carry around with him, and he remembers the fun that he had twisting his brain, imagining a little guy dancing around his notepad trying to escape his evil blocks. So yeah, pretty simple. There's really not much more to it. As you would expect, the game starts off easy, but gets a hell of a lot harder the more you go on, making this puzzler really test your ability to suss it out. Fail and it's death. The atmosphere in this game is honestly like no other puzzler that I've come across. It's eerie with its spooky although fantastic soundtrack. The nameless and, let's be honest, faceless character that you play as seems overly frantic in his controls and actually sort of makes you feel a bit sorry for him. Maybe not whilst playing it, but definitely when you go back and think about it. Who is this guy? And why is he being punished so much again and again and again? Perhaps he deserves it, perhaps this is his afterlife, and the only thing standing in his way to an agonizing and petrifying death is well, it's you. Or perhaps this isn't someone else, perhaps this is just like every other video game, perhaps you're not controlling someone else but considering his bland, almost universal appeal, perhaps this person is actually you. This is what I thought when playing the game as a youngster, and it really did make me play the game quite differently. A clever little puzzle game released on a system that had about 500 too many games that sucks you in, and just like Sato-san's other work in completely different fields, the clever so-and-so has done it again. Sato-san said he wanted to make a game that after he dies 1,000 years later, middle schoolers were still playing it. And although I'm not exactly sure if that's gonna happen, I can at least say that 20 years on, the dream is definitely being fulfilled. Just, not in the best way, sadly. Honestly guys, for those of you gutted that you actually bought this heap of grey plastic, at least give this game a go. One of the more lesser known titles on the mini system, and one that is without a doubt 100% worth playing. There truly is no other puzzle game like this.
Something has been observing us, monitoring the simulation that is our behavior. But science has now given us the means to confront that something face to face. Our task is neither to face it down, nor to try to discover its essential nature. Rather, we need only to make an experimental black box of our own, set the appropriate conditions, and start the simulation. And IQ exists for this reason alone.
So let's take a look at those sequels, shall we? Damn, I do love making videos like this. I didn't even know a sequel to this bad boy existed. but now I do. This is probably the better game in all honesty. Yeah, it's pretty much the same game, but it's got a few tweaks that make it slightly better. You can unlock and choose different characters now. There's a 2-player mode, a create mode, and the 100 attack mode. Yeah, it's simply just a little bit better. Probably not enough to buy both unless you're a hardcore Kurushi enthusiast, but still, it's good enough for me. And that's where it all ends, right? Obviously not. This is IQ Remix for the PlayStation 2. Straight away you can see just by the menus alone that they have decided to go for a far more upbeat game here. Yes, the game is still essentially the same with a few minor tweaks, but visually, I don't know, it doesn't give off the same vibe in my eyes. And did Intelligent Qube really need saxophone-filled ambient house music? No, it doesn't. But I'm only saying this because I knew what came before it, and I prefer that. This is still a solid game, it just sadly lost something compared to what came a generation before. IQ Mania was essentially the greatest hits of all 3 games that came before it, including over 700 levels for the PSP. Obviously a game like this lends itself brilliantly to handheld gaming, but if you do manage to get yourself a copy of this, be sure to put some headphones on. I cannot justify how good the music is in this series of games. Now, there is one other game worth mentioning here, and that is PQ, Practical Intelligence Quotient for the PSP. It's got average reviews, and I personally wouldn't put it much higher myself. To me, it doesn't really feel anything like the original games. It's fine, just lots of logic puzzles where you gotta push switches, dodge guards and lasers, and push a few more blocks and what have you. Apparently it's part of the Intelligent Qube series. So, you know, I've got to add it in here, but honestly guys, it feels nothing like those original games whatsoever. Oh yeah, and this also got a sequel. So yeah, there you have it. Intelligent Qube is a game that stuck with me and many others by the looks of things for the longest time. Masahiko Sato really did create something special here. Something so special that it found its way onto the PlayStation Mini above so many other obvious choices. To this day, Sato-san is remembered for a lot of his impressive achievements, and although he never made any other games from what I can tell, he still slaps a big IQ in plain sight whenever showcasing his proudest accomplishments. Hey there guys, thanks for checking out the video. I want to give a big special shout out to all of my Patreons. But first, I just want to say if you're not part of the Slopes Game Room Discord channel, then there will definitely be a link below. And if you guys do want to support the show and be part of these people that you're seeing on the screen right here, then all you got to do is follow the Patreon link below or use the YouTube join feature, which is featured right below this video. And if you want yet another way to support me, why not check the Play Asia affiliate link below, which does help out the show, and don't forget to use the coupon SGR at the checkout. Anyway, back to those patrons, with a big special shout out going to That Retro Video Gamer, Gary Pinkett, Andrew Dalton, Newcomer, Stephen Cavana, Mantis, Aaron McNamara, Tomek Grabowski, Christopher Turnbull, Brent Craft, Ben Jackson, Phil Lowlins, Tim Labonte, Mike Falling, Quang DX, Tim Lund, Genovi, Hernandez, Pixels.Limited, aka Samuel Victor, Red the Beard, Conrad Constantine, Pretendo64, Creamy Elephant, James Loveridge, Casey Garner, Blitz Hedgie, Ben Hall, Savage Gaming Show, Gemma at Mr. T's Shirts, Newcomer Lefty, Ye Old Hamburger, Gregory Arden, Bewright, Ronnie Method, Solix Captor, Jeremy Rodriguez, Nick Pollard, Bram Perez, Garrett Legion Marcus, King Emo Cut Tyndall, June the Geeky Dad, Richard Carter, aka Fantastic Dizzy, Todd Paul Float G, and of course, Petty Mew. If you want to get your name shouted out, then come and check me out over on Patreon, or if you want to get your name shown like these guys, like I said, use the YouTube join function. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell if that's your thing. But for now, this is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.